Hi everyone, and welcome back to the 300 bird challenge. We're trying to see 300 different bird species this year. We're also still in Florida for maybe 2 more videos. Today we're at the Orlando Wetlands. Tell you more after this. Our video begins at the entrance to Orlando Wetlands, where Sara signed us in. The wetlands are located roughly between the city of Orlando and Cape Canaveral Space Station. There's a few different marshes and a fairly long boardwalk, and it promised to be a pretty good day of birding. Okay, as I mentioned, we're at Orlando Wetlands. Today we're quite hopeful of getting a limpkin, hopefully. It's a bird we want to get on this Florida trip. Sara, what else can we hope for today?
Potentially sedge-wren, marsh wren, blue grosbeak has been spotted here, yellow-throated warbler.
Blue grosbeak is high on my list too. Let's see what we can find here. We're heading towards the boardwalk. There's a forthcoming visitor and education centre behind me with about a dozen black vultures on the roof. We were really excited to visit Orlando Wetlands, and we immediately began to look around for birds. Lots of red-bellied woodpeckers on this trip, one of our most spotted species I think. Here's a pair of them near their nest. Once onto the boardwalk, we were seeing several roseate spoonbills. A couple came quite close. Some of our favourite birds are those that have evolved exaggerated body parts that allow it to specialise in a particular area. Long legs on a stilt, for example, or oddly shaped beaks in the case of this spoonbill. They use their bills to forage shallow waters, swinging its partially opened bill from side to side and slamming it shut when it senses prey has entered. Typically small prey like little fish, crustaceans, frogs, newts, insects, and sometimes small plant pieces. As you can see, their foraging can disturb sediment, which can sometimes be helpful to other heron and egret type species. The roseate spoonbill has pink plumage, which is coloured by their diet in the same way as the American flamingo. As ungainly as it can appear, spoonbills nest in trees, and this individual appears to be searching for nesting material to carry away elsewhere. It was a real treat to get to closely watch this species, which we'd never seen before we came to Florida. Especially a little further along the boardwalk when we watched an adult with 3 youngsters in a nest. Onwards though, we want to find a limpkin or any other new species. In the meantime, yet another common gallinule. Actually, maybe this is the most spotted species on the trip. We watched it take to drier land and peck away at some blades of grass. Speaking of young birds, here's a couple of great egret young communicating quite robustly about how hungry they are. Well, we're just a few feet along the boardwalk, and this is a pretty immense place already. There's all kinds of stuff flying around us, calling out to us. It's a lot of the same stuff we've already seen in terms of content for this video, but it's still an awesome place. A rather bold black vulture checking out what all these humans are up to. It was a really calm and pretty morning as we continued along the boardwalk. A few alligators laying in wake though, this one not too far from the boardwalk. This one amongst some grass near the bank. Gates have been installed along the boardwalk to keep them out. We had loads of wood stalks flying overhead with nest material, building nests in one of the tree islands. Once you reach the end of the boardwalk, there's a couple of different trails you can take. Since we're hoping for a limpkin, we wondered if this red-winged blackbird might know something we didn't. I think the blackbird's trying to help us find the limpkin. A couple of American coots out on this marsh. More gallinules too, this one with a couple of young. We've seen this one a couple of times already, but a fun, quite large, chunky marsh hen type, the grey-headed swamp hen. As I've mentioned previously, this bird is not native to North America. It's found natively in India and the Middle East, but it was introduced into Florida, and that's now the only place in North America that you can find it, so it's a countable species here, and it's also a kind of non-native Florida specialty bird. Here's a heron species I really like, the little blue heron. I wish we'd seen more of these, but they can be quite flighty. I tracked this one for a while, trying to get a little bit closer to it, eventually catching up with it and watching it catch some insects. We had a very brief view of a perching bird here.
I don't know what that is.
We waited for it to show again, hoping it might be a yellow-throated warbler. That would be a lifer, but I think this is just a female common yellowthroat. The amount of yellow and the boldness of the eye ring can be quite variable. Oh well. After that near miss, let's take a quick break here. We'll be back after this. Just behind the cattails we have 2 or 3 marsh wrens, but they're very, very well hidden, and part of the 300 bird challenge is we have to get it on camera for it to count. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're not too concerned about that. We do have a future trip in Ontario coming up in 2 or 3 weeks, and the marsh wrens there are quite showy, so if we don't get it, we don't get it. We'll definitely get it in the future. I say definitely, famous last words, but we're pretty confident we'll get it in the future. So I think we might give up on this and push on, but we can hear them, and we've caught glimpses with the naked eye. If at first you don't succeed, we did end up getting fabulous looks at this marsh wren. That's a new species for the year, so we can add one onto our counter at last. Our number is increasing, but ever more slowly. Are we going to be able to get to 300 for the year? I'm actually not sure at this point. We'll keep trying. Well, no worries on the marsh wren. Just before we got onto this boardwalk behind us, we finally got eyes on a marsh wren. Came out nicely for us, got a few seconds of footage before it disappeared again. Marsh wren, new bird for the year. Woo! We decided to do one more loop around the wetlands. Still no limpkin, and we were running out of time with only 3 more days left in Florida. Struggling amongst the plants was this tri-coloured heron. And a little higher up in a tree, a pair of black-bellied whistling ducks. I began filming a few insects once we got onto a grassy path like this eastern pond hawk, and this pretty black swallowtail. When suddenly... Okay, we've just seen a limpkin disappearing into a bit of marsh here. There's some other people looking at it, hoping they're not going to scare it away. Got it. This isn't the prettiest of birds, but it is a lifer. It's a bird we had been hoping for, because it doesn't typically make it as far north as the Great Lakes where we live. This bird, like the snail kite that we saw in a previous video, eats apple snails almost exclusively. It's got his snail shell.
There is.
Awesome guys, we got the limpkin, really happy. We watched the limpkin for a while as it dipped around foraging for snails, before we eventually moved on, searching for more birds in the marsh. Other birds we saw today included glossy ibis, as well as a couple of white ibis too. Some mottled ducks, including some younger ones. Pretty cool views of this green heron. And a couple of adult sandhill cranes with their 2 young. A little more grown up now, we were a bit too late getting to Florida in order to see some chicks. This great blue heron let me get quite close. And this anhinga was determined to dive every time I pointed my camera at it. Oops, and again. Quite a few turtles around this morning. I think these are Florida red-belly turtles, which have been introduced elsewhere and are quite widespread due to the pet trade. Some other non-avian species today include finally seeing a pig frog, named for the sound that they make. We'd been hearing them frequently throughout the trip, but had found it hard to actually spot them until now. Well hidden in the mud, but I think we have a banded water snake here. Pretty harmless snake to humans, but a bit more harmful to things like frogs and small fish. Alright guys, excellent day at Orlando Wetlands. Let me guess, Sarah, your highlight was the limpkin?
Yeah, particularly since I had kind of resigned myself to the fact that we weren't going to find it at this location.
Yeah, it was cool to see that guy fishing around for the shells. What else did we see? Well, we didn't get the blue grosbeak, but we still have opportunities to maybe get that, so stay tuned to the channel. We did get the marsh wren in the end. What else did we see today? The yellow-throated warbler, we think. You'll know about that on the screen. Was there one more thing?
That was it for new birds, yeah.
But we've got really great looks at some birds, even better looks at the roseate spoonbill, for example. Anyway, time for us to go. There will be a bit more content coming from us from Florida, so like I say, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. What should they do with the like button?
You should smash it.
Smash the like button. That will help other people find the channel, and we'd really appreciate that. Give us a comment. What was your favourite bird? Are you from Florida? What have you enjoyed seeing here? What have we missed? Tell us whatever you think in the comments below. In the meantime, if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, followed by the bell icon. That will give you notifications of new videos. Thanks for watching this video. Happy birding, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.